Driving at night is one of my favorite things to do. There's nothing more frustrating to me than being stuck in traffic, and living in Staten Island, New York, the traffic can be absolutely unbearable. My brother lives in Florida, and I like to visit him often, but the drive is long, sometimes taking up to 18 hours. To avoid the bulk of the traffic, I leave New York at around 2 a.m. This way, I'm already clear of the busy areas by the time most people hit the road. On one particular Thursday morning at 2 a.m., I was getting ready for one of these long drives. I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts to grab my morning coffee. The drive ahead of me would be grueling, and I figured I'd need the caffeine to keep me going. I didn't want to fly because I'd be in Florida for an entire month, and I didn't want to rely on my brother to drive me around everywhere. By the time I was out of Staten Island, it was just after 3 a.m., and the drive was smooth sailing through Jersey. The stretch from New York to Florida is actually quite easy once you're out of the city. It's pretty much just the I-95 all the way down. Around 4 a.m., I began to feel a little hungry. I saw a food sign and decided to take the exit. The burger company was the first fast food joint on the signs, so I figured I'd grab breakfast. I had skipped eating earlier because, when I wake up so early, I don't feel hunger for a few hours. So I thought I'd be fine for now. I followed the signs to the burger company, but it seemed like I was in the middle of nowhere. There weren't any streetlights, and the only light came from my headlights. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw a car parked there and the menu lit up, so I thought the place was open. I sat in the drive-thru for a minute, waiting for someone to greet me, but no one came. I even said "excuse me" into the intercom, but no response. Checking my phone, I realized that the burger company didn't open until 6 a.m. I was about to pull away when I heard 3 loud knocks on my window. I jumped, startled, and turned to see a man standing there, smiling. He motioned for me to roll down the window, and despite not feeling entirely comfortable, I cracked it open just enough to hear him. He told me the place wasn't open, and I told him I just figured that out. Then he said his car battery had died, pointing to the one other car in the parking lot. He said he was stranded and begged me to help him jumpstart his car. I told him I didn't have jumper cables, but he assured me he had them in his trunk. I reluctantly agreed, deciding I'd help him out. I thought karma would bite me if I left him stranded. He backed away from his car, so I could park next to it. I aligned my car's hood with his so we could connect the jumper cables. After popping the hoods, we connected the cables and started my car. We waited a few minutes, and then he tried starting his car, but nothing happened. The engine wouldn't turn over. I thought it was odd since he'd been driving the car, and a fully charged battery should have started right away. He walked away, making a call in Spanish, and I couldn't really understand what he was saying. A few minutes later, he came back, saying his friend told him to wait a little longer and try again. I was hoping this wouldn't take much more time when, suddenly, I heard the sound of 2 pickup trucks speeding into the parking lot from opposite sides of the building. It clicked in my mind, something was off. I hurriedly disconnected the jumper cables, shut my hood, and locked my car. But it was too late. The trucks had already pulled up behind my car, trapping me in. I could tell the situation had gone south. I looked at the man again, but now his smile was more sinister, and the way he looked at me was unsettling. Without thinking twice, I locked my car and bolted into the woods. My heart was racing as I ran through the dark, cutting my shins on branches and tripping over God knows what. I kept running until I couldn't hear the trucks anymore, and then I stopped to lie low, hoping they wouldn't find me. I heard the voices of at least 3 men yelling in Spanish, getting closer. My fear intensified as the voices approached, but eventually, they started fading away. I let out a breath I didn't realize I had been holding. My relief was short-lived, though, as I heard my car alarm go off in the distance. I knew all my things, my clothes, shoes, watches, and everything else, were in the back of the car. I had to make my way back. I cautiously approached the parking lot, crouching down. When I finally peeked through the shadows, I saw that my car was still there, but the other vehicles were gone. I ran to my car, but it was a nightmare. The rear window was shattered, and everything I had, 80% of my wardrobe, my suitcase, and all my belongings, was gone. I couldn't help but tear up from the stress and disbelief. I called the police and explained everything that had happened. The officers who arrived at the scene said they would review the CCTV footage from the Wendy's when they opened at 6 a.m. They took my information, and though they assured me they would keep in touch, I knew my stuff was long gone. I was about 2 hours from home, so I turned around and drove back. The entire drive was filled with anxiety and a feeling of defeat. Later, I received a call from the police in Jersey. They told me the car in the parking lot had a fake license plate, and the 2 pickup trucks didn't have plates at all. They said they would still do what they could, but I knew it was just to give me a sense of hope. In the end, my stuff was never recovered. Those men got away with it. I truly believe in karma, and I hope those people got what they deserved for what they did.